Hi guys, so happy Sunday. Did my rugby reviews anyway. France are playing Italy today, so there'll be another one after. But just wanted to talk about something. There's Dr. Peter Groch, he's German psychiatrist or German physician, but he's just talking about debunking the use of prescription medication, and you've Dr. Joseph as well, Australian doctor. He is a clinical psychiatrist, I believe. Anyway, he's a doctor anyway. Maybe he's just a general GP, general practitioner, and clinician. But check them out. Both of them make very good arguments against taking psychiatric medication, and I'd love to know your thoughts on it. So you've obviously seen that I'm very anti-medication in general. The reason being is because I think it's a cop-out, if I'm being honest. And I was having a big argument with my brother last night because I feel like he's on too much medication. I feel like he's just kind of given in and gone, oh, fuck it, I'm going to take it. Problem being that antipsychotics like what he takes, olanzapine, cause significant weight gain. We're all prone to weight in my family. My dad's side, not so much, but they do have heart disease, and mental illness is actually massive on my dad's side of the family. My nanny was on Xanax her whole life. Poor little fella. His baby. Yeah, hello. Good boy. We've been keeping him safe. Yeah. Because sometimes he just runs out and I'm like, careful. He's 3 now. You're more mature, don't you? But yeah, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a psychiatrist, I'm not a psychologist or any of that shit. I'm someone who has worked with a lot of different people in general life, made observations. I'm someone who's been prescribed a lot of fucking medication, which has not helped me, not significantly. Maybe steadied the ship, if you want to even say that, but I also feel like I had to admit to stuff that was wrong with me that I wasn't accepting. I don't like antidepressant medication. I never have. I think it's toxic. And I'm basing everything off people that I've observed and experienced it myself, I'm not basing it off necessarily medical research, but there are people out there who know more than me who say you go into a doctor, you spend like 5 minutes with them and they give you a condition and a diagnosis. And then they give you a medication to treat that diagnosis. Like, they can't give you a certain medication unless they've diagnosed you with something. Like, this fella used to watch Adam Wonders. I don't know if he's still around. I was hoping to pick his brains before. He was doing a psychology degree. He's from Newcastle. He's autistic like myself, and yeah, I can't find his YouTube channel. I was hoping to find it, but maybe he's busy and overwhelmed. I understand completely. But I wish you well if you're out there, mate. I really liked your channel. But he was saying that when he went into a doctor for depression, it was, you have depression, take these tablets, and if your doctor says that, then get a new doctor. I don't think you would find a doctor that wouldn't do that, if I'm being perfectly honest. It's very unusual. I've been to so many, and they say the exact same thing. When I was very stressed out and working my arse off and I was exhausted, they didn't even bother to tell me that they were checking my cholesterol. I had to tell the doctors that I needed to fast for a cholesterol test, to check out my low density lipoproteins, which is your bad cholesterol, the LDL. The HDL, high density lipoproteins. That's the good one. And my cholesterol was high, but I drank milk, and had eggs. I said, but you didn't tell me you were doing my cholesterol for my blood. And they were like, oh, it doesn't matter if you were fasting or not. It wouldn't make any difference. I was like, yes, it would. The fact that I have to tell you this is very concerning. And then a doctor taking my blood pressure on my forearm, just about here. And I was there kind of shifting it, going, do you want to move that up? Like, that's not where you take blood pressure. And it's kind of like, well, I'm the doctor, I know better. It's like, I know that you do it on the bicep, you don't do it on the forearm. I've never seen anyone do that. Like, it baffled me that he was doing it. Every other doctor I've ever had that took my blood pressure was on my bicep, you know? And then to use my brother again, I told him, I warned him against olanzapine. I said it's going to cause weight gain, it's going to cause more blood glucose. You're going to be hungry, you're going to crave shittier food. And like, I've done a science degree, I know something at least, you know, and I'm fascinated by it. I have a genuine interest in science, and I think it's absolutely fascinating. I do my own research. I don't just go, oh, this fella said something, you know, so it must be true. No, you look up research articles, which I did do, and I looked up 20 different research articles that all found hepatotoxicity, which means that there is toxicity in your liver after taking olanzapine, which is an antipsychotic slash mood stabilizer medication. 20 different studies, now varying levels, yes, different groups, some of which were very healthy to begin with. They all experienced some level of liver toxicity, hepatotoxicity, and one doctor, in fairness, the first one he went to, my brother, said, you want to be careful, you want to get your bloods done, because this can be very hard on the liver, so we'll need to check that out to make sure there's no issues. It can also cause kidney damage as well, to the nephrons. John Alamu, who I mentioned before, a great rugby player, had a nephrotic syndrome, which meant his kidneys just basically shut down. Yeah, God love him, you know, great guy. Unfortunately he couldn't outfight it, but these medications can cause damage to both the liver and the kidneys, so you got to be careful. Olanzapine being one of the worst, you know, and the first doctor said you want to be careful because it causes liver toxicity. Then he goes back to another doctor and he says, I need to get more blood tests because the other doctor told me this causes liver toxicity. And she said, no, it doesn't cause any liver toxicity. That's a lie. And it's like, no, it's not. And loads of people have backed that up to say it definitely causes some level of liver toxicity. So, like, you can't trust anyone as far as I can see. And looking at my own personal examples, I was just given medication after medication. You know, after I started working with a addiction counsellor, now I still have the odd drink, I do, but I'm much better now than I was, you know, and I know my limits. I don't go out to places that make me feel anxious because I know I'll drink and I know there'll be a crash after I do. I don't associate with a lot of people who make me feel like shit. That helps my mental health. And look, I've had a long layoff from full-time work, but it has definitely helped. I've done courses that have built my confidence up. A shout out to Suzanne Power. I was just doing a little group session. I posted it with the Wexford Local Development Group, and she's just a very open and energetic person, you know, but also a very gentle soul, which I can relate to 100%. And talking to people, getting different perspectives, you know, the worst thing for your mental health is having no self-belief and thinking that you're a piece of shit. He's coming up. Yeah, me move that for you. There you go. I haven't got the heart to not let him up. Up you get. Jump. Good boy. The worst thing for your mental health is to have no belief and think everybody else is better than you. Self-esteem. You're not going to cure self-esteem issues with fucking pills. What pills do is give you a safety net, and then when you come off them, you're anxious because you've relied on them for so long. A doctor telling me, like a GP I've known all my life, and I'm starting to get less trusting of him by the day, I'm putting you straight back on the Prozac. I just told you I don't like Prozac. It made me feel like shit. Like, yeah, my brother argued with me that I didn't take it right. I did initially, you know, I took it the way I was told to. And then I was like, this shit is making me feel more anxious. It's fucking killing my libido, like absolutely destroying it. And I've heard loads of people say that, yet doctors have told me it wouldn't have that significant an impact. Well, how come everyone who actually takes it says it does? You tell me, you know. 3 months now as a young man, like a teenager, without ejaculating, like, and I'm using scientific terms, I'm not being funny here. That's not normal. That's not fucking normal. I don't care what you say. It was through the fucking floor. I don't know how I managed to keep exercising because I was done for motivation. Now I've got loads back, you know. One pill for the other. That's great, isn't it? And then I took sertraline, which, I mean, but I was so low. Like, I was in such a bad state that I think I thought it was doing a lot, and it was probably helping in some way, but I mean, I was morbidly obese. I was working way too much. I was shot. I was overdoing everything. My self-esteem was terrible. And then I guess like it just evens out, and I get problems again. Then I come off it. Sertraline is Zoloft, Prozac, and is fluoxetine. Other names for it, but couldn't exercise, couldn't play rugby, and I was sick of trying and just feeling like shit every time. It just made me feel worse. And then I wanted to go out and socialise. I didn't want to be a loner, isolated from everybody, because that's how I was growing up. Nobody ever delved into that with me. The reason I went out drinking with people all the time was because I felt like such a loner as a kid. And so having people invite me out, I'm like, I'm not turning that down. And then I was so anxious when I was out that alcohol helped me cope with that. Why couldn't they have fucking seen that and delved into it? Just stop drinking. Yeah, or easy to say, but the peer pressure is real. Through making a lot of fucking mistakes, which I have made my own fucking. I made my mind up and kind of set my own boundaries and rules and like what I like, what I don't like. I know that now. But nobody ever fucking delved into that with me. I had to fucking have a breakdown and just go into the hospital crying, saying I need fucking help, I'm fucking sick. I've been in and out of hospitals my whole life pretty much, and had to sit in front of a lot of psychiatrists judging me and saying that how bad a kid I am, and how much of a problem I am for everybody else. That's not going to fucking damage your self-esteem, is it? Fucking idiots. Then had a load of fucking diagnoses thrown at me, like pointing the finger and saying you're a bad kid, and a therapist actually brought it up. In fairness, just an average Joe, a lad who worked as an electrician, who decided this isn't for me. We had a good chat about that, and let me tell you, construction work and damaging your mental health. He got it. He has real life experience. He's not some prick with a clipboard, judging you, telling you all the facts and how brilliant I am because I have a degree in this, and you don't, and I've lectured in Trinity and UCD. Fuck off. Like, you don't know me and you don't care. A lad who was an electrician who decided to be a therapist, a psychotherapist, and trained at it, he has more life experience than you. He's seen how toxic people can be, and I have too. We could actually relate because of that. That psychiatrist can't, because they've not experienced that. They can't empathise with me the same way that lad could. And he completely got it, and then rugby and playing a sport, he was like, yeah, the drinking culture. As a young fella, that's very hard to turn down. That's what fucking damaged my mental health. Giving me a pill is not going to fucking help that. There is something else. You think, you just give me pills and I'll stop drinking and I'll stop feeling anxious and I'll stop feeling terrible about myself. I fucking won't. That's not going to help. It's never going to fucking help. My nanny lived on her nerves, as you'd say, and she was just giving loads of pills. A lot of Irish elderly women were, they were swapping pills. It used to be the joke that for lunch they'd swap their Valium and their Xanax and all. Have you got the blues? Have you got the yellows? As they said. That's not good though. And like, my nanny just was addicted to benzodiazepines in general, and she got dementia when she was older. And guess what a symptom of prolonged use of benzodiazepines is? Dementia or Alzheimer's. Did we fucking hear anything about that? No, it was never two and two together. Then she lives out the rest of her years, just basically existing until they pulled the plug in a nursing home. What a fucking... I felt so bad for her. She had such a hard life and nobody ever helped her. They treated her like shit, like it does really upset me. Like, yeah, I know she always meant well. My granddad, no, he was a nasty piece of work, and living with him I got to see that. But me and my brother both said, going down to that house, we'd always just want to see her and stay out in the kitchen with her, even the smell of smoke out in the kitchen, because she did love her Super Kings. But my heart went out to her, it really did. Like, she was from a very poor working class part of Dublin. Like, she grew up in Inchicore, and her father, my great grandfather, who my dad didn't even really get to meet, he was a very nasty man, and mistreated her. And like, it's easy to judge her and say, but she never tried to better herself, like her sisters or whatever, her brother. So my great uncle, he would have been a very good footballer for St Patrick's Athletic around Inchicore, and they didn't live too far from Richmond Park, which is it's so good to go and see it though. Do you know, it always makes me very nostalgic thinking of that. And, my mum isn't her blood relative or whatever, but she obviously, with the split between her and my dad, hates a lot of that side of the family, and look, I can sympathise. I'm not their biggest fan in a lot of ways, but I tolerate a lot of them. But she even agrees, God love her, my nanny, she had a hard life. She always liked my mum, you know. She wasn't the most emotionally expressive person, but you could always tell she loved me and my brother. No judgment was given. She just didn't have, she was never given the skills, that she needed. But she fucking tried, and you can't fault her for that. Like, this is something that really hits home with me. With my granny, I call the other one Granny Judy, and well, we just called them by their names, Judy and Lena. Helena, that was my paternal grandmother. Judy was my maternal grandmother. Loved them both so much. Yeah, like, the women in my life be someone I look up to more, but Judy was a lot more headstrong, let's say. Had a lot of good family around her, and that's why she was so headstrong. Like, she died, and God rest both their soul. She never needed medication. She had a lot of trauma as well when my auntie Kathy, like, God love her, when she died, like, that was, I can't imagine that, losing a child. I never got to meet her because she died so young of lupus, which basically means that your white blood cells start attacking your body. It's like leukemia. Yeah, that could have been very difficult on her, and she did drink, but who wouldn't, And then my mum said that this is going to get me kind of emotional, but she said when I was born, she kind of changed and became herself again, Oh, like, but, like, this why this runs deep with me. I'm just thinking, that was a good reason for her to be depressed, losing a daughter so young, and other issues that happened, And my granddad was a great man, her husband, and I'm so upset that I never got to meet him. But when you've good people around you, that builds strong mental health. I'm getting off the topic here, I'm getting nostalgic, but you take one example of someone who has loads of good people around her, and then you take Lena, my dad's mother, and she didn't. They didn't look after her properly. They mistreated her. She was a housewife and she worked 2 jobs. Like, it's not as if she was just sitting around waiting on my granddad all day, but she fucking was as well, but she also worked. You tell me how she's going to be normal after being mistreated by her own father. And then you see my dad, who, yeah, he's anti-drugs, but I actually agree with him in that you just get on with stuff rather, you stop fucking drinking, you get out of a toxic environment if you can, and you lay off the drugs. As I say, I have friends from CFT and DBT, and they're on like 8 or 9 different medications. They're like vegetables some days. They can barely get out of bed. What is the fucking point in that? And, like, psychosis is different, yeah, but how does it get to that point? Yeah, I am anti-medication because I don't feel like it's helped me significantly. I feel like it's hindered me in a lot of ways. I was an extremely anxious kid, and all they wanted to do was put me on drugs. Not once did they speak to me like a human being. They spoke to me like a fucking subject, a guinea pig. Ritalin and other drugs. You're fucking with people's lives and they don't care. You tell me if medication helps you, because it certainly doesn't help me. And Lexapro's not even the worst I've been on, but very bad stomach problems from it. But doctors dismissed that and said it wouldn't cause that significant a problem. I'm getting a lovely procedure done soon, to check my gastrointestinal tract and see what the crack is there. I always use so many puns that this I'll get a bit too much of it. I'd like to offer free counselling to anyone involved. God help them, poor bastards. Nah, I won't be able to pay for that, I'm sorry. But yeah, like just to dismiss it, oh no, that wouldn't have caused that. It's like, oh, because you want to peddle more pills my way, do you? Like when I've high cholesterol and I'm a young man, but you don't actually get me to do a test where I'm fasted, they give me fucking statins. I ran out of the statins. I was off them for over a month, and I took it upon myself to fast before getting the blood test. And guess what? Absolutely fine. The text message I got after the first blood test was, your liver results are abnormal with like 3 L's, and your cholesterol is very, very high. You care to give me some figures on that? You know? Jeez, I had to fucking hound them for that actual result. But it was a lot of bollocks. I had to get it done again because I wasn't fucking fasted. And I said, you didn't tell me you were going to take my cholesterol, so I didn't fast for it. Like, and then a doctor that I've known my whole life telling me you're going to be on these antidepressants the rest of your life. I don't fucking want to be. I'm not going to stay on them, pal. I'd rather fucking die, to be honest with you. They're shit. They don't help. And Lexapro, as you say, isn't the strongest drug I've been on. I've been taking that for a while. I've come off it and I feel my emotions have come back in a good way, and I'm able to cope with them now. I wasn't able to cope with them before. Now I'm like, you don't have to be the best at everything. You don't have to be perfect. You know, you've got to fucking own up to your mistakes. That's something I couldn't do. I was too mentally weak to admit to my flaws. Now I can. I know my flaws. I know where I'm weak. I know where I need to improve. And that's okay. That's fucking fine. Because we force everyone to get everything right first time and belittle them if they make a mistake in any way. That being a highly competitive person and also having very critical coaches who just would let you know when you did stuff wrong, and having friends who weren't very supportive, you know, they'd let you know when you fucked up all the time, and people were just waiting in the wings to criticise me. I gave myself a lot of abuse. I gave myself a lot of abuse saying I was shit, I was worthless, that even if I had a great game, if I fucked up in any small way, I was worthless, I was terrible. Your self-esteem can't be that weak if you want to be successful in life, because if that's something that can knock you that easily, what else will knock you? You know, you've got to build that resilience up here. So now if I get knocked or bumped in a game, I'd be like, well, you know what, I had a good game and I put myself into that tackle. At least I tried, you know, and that's a motto I kind of use, is at least I tried. I gave it a go. It didn't feel great doing it, but I fucking gave it a go. So fuck it. Pills are not the answer. And the longer you're on them, the more negative, toxic side effects you're going to have throughout your life. Brain damage, liver, heart damage, you know, weight gain, part of hypothyroidism, meaning that you've an underactive thyroid, meaning you will gain weight. And if you're prone to that already, you know, I'm not saying it's curtains, but it's certainly not helpful, you know. And if you've got an increased blood glucose level, you crave more shitty foods, you put on the weight, you know. You need to think of the high risk, high reward ratio, and you also need to think, initially when I started taking these medications, how shit did I feel? And then they just even out, meaning that I felt terrible, suicidal, which you can feel with antidepressants, and now I just feel I'm back to baseline. Because I've heard people saying that they actually looked at it and they're like, do I feel any better than I did before coming on these? No, I'm like a vegetable, I'm numb. So why would you want to be like that for the rest of your life? I feel like that's a very unhelpful statement from a doctor. I don't feel like it's any help whatsoever, and I'm not doing that. I refuse to be on any medication for the rest of my life, because I don't feel like any of them have helped me at all. In some ways, perhaps, but I also feel like I was so bad that I withdrew from a lot of things. So perhaps like being on these medications, knowing that I couldn't drink, meant that I was staying off alcohol. You know, because I was going out sometimes twice a week drinking. That's not good for you. Sometimes even more. You do that, it's going to catch up with you. So how about instead of putting shit into your body, you take something out? You stop drinking, you stop smoking, you stop taking drugs, you watch your caffeine, which is definitely something I've needed to do. For sure, I've started taking ashwagandha as well, which I think is really good. It's really making me more awake when I wake up. I know that's a weird one, but I'm looking forward to the day. And I mean, Jesus, it's not nice out there, but you can probably hear the wind in the background, but
You're meant to feel emotions. You're not meant to just numb them. That's why people take drugs, because stuff is too painful. And if you don't believe me, Gabor Mate is your man. He is the guy you want to listen to. He will agree. Well, he's the one who says it. I'm just quoting what he says. Your addictions are a result of your trauma. Your ADHD, he has ADHD, and like, it's a result of trauma, you know. His parents fucking were in the Holocaust. They had to give him up to another family to save him. But as a child, he took that, and he says it himself, even subconsciously, you know, not necessarily realizing it, he took that as a rejection. My mother doesn't want me. My parents don't want me. I'm not loved, which had a traumatic effect on him, and he was addicted to working all the time. So he didn't have to deal with the problem. And he's not a psychiatrist, he's a physician, like a family physician, but he talks about how we are fucking people over by treating their addiction the way we do. You cannot block out trauma, you have to face it head on. You have to accept that it happened, that there's no going back and fixing it, but learning to live with it. I know that sounds difficult, that's why people take drugs, you know, but you have got to face your trauma and accept that it wasn't right. It's not your fault, but nothing can be done about it except you can carry on living your life. And like, that's easy for me to say when there's people out there who've been raped as a child, and God, I can't imagine how that is. But we need to put more supports in place to make sure that we deal with that issue, the core issue. Pills are not going to stop that. They're just going to mask it, and then they're going to give you some terrible side effects. And when you come off that medication, guess what? That trauma will be waiting for you and come back tenfold. So, no, I'm not a big fan of pills. I never have been. I don't like them. I've taken them, and they've not offered much. Not drinking and not being in stressful, anxiety-riddling places. I've done enough of it, and like, that's the thing. Life experience will teach you what you do and don't like, and what you can and can't cope with. I know that a lot more now through fucking trying, not just giving in and taking medication. People need to push themselves and actually just say, fuck it. You know, life is not easy. You've got to fucking do stuff. You can't just say, oh, this is uncomfortable, so I'm giving up. We're far too good at living in the comfort zone now because we have everything very easy. But life is not meant to be easy. As I sit here in a dressing gown in a nice warm room on a Sunday. But I appreciate that. That's something, that's a luxury that I have that most people in the world don't. But I can't change that. And I'm certainly not going to apologise for enjoying the luxuries of life, because I'm grateful for them. I don't take them for granted. I know that life can be shit, but look, if we build resilience, if we realise we're not meant to be fucking perfect, then we have better self-esteem, and then we appreciate that we've given something a go, rather than I have to be perfect. Oh, I fucked up in that, now everybody will think I'm an idiot. And you gave it a go. Did anyone else? How many other people didn't give it a go that are now mocking you, who sat back just observing you failing and then laughed at you? Didn't have the fucking balls to do it themselves though, did they? So think about that, guys. Medication is not always the answer. Happy Sunday.